Hi, Dana here. As part of our What God Looks Like series, you've been hearing from musician Talip Peshkepia from Mystic Mercy as he shares new music and the stories behind his music. We call it Storytelling with Mystic Mercy. In this episode, Talip shares his new song titled It's Just the Pouring Rain. It's inspired by how it rains on the just and the unjust, or put another way, a response to seeing bad things happen to good people. I know I can relate all too well to this sentiment, and my guess is you can too. As Talip says, this is a song about life. And life is complicated, it's messy, it's painful, and yes, it is also joyful, beautiful, and full of laughter. God is always with us, even when we're struggling and wrestling with what that looks and feels like. If you'd like to learn more about Mystic Mercy, please visit mysticmercymusic.com. Now sit back and enjoy Mystic Mercy.
The righteous will fall more than twice a day, wicked too. You know it rains and pours on everyone.
Hello again, it's me, Talip Peshkepia from Mystic Mercy, and today you're listening to a song called It's Just the Pouring Rain. I've been writing songs my whole life. Ever since I picked up the guitar, I've been writing a bunch of tunes. So many different styles of music. Had a ska band, had a rock and roll, like punk rock band, a Weezer geek rock band. Even had a rock opera where we performed with this story in like a narrative form with singing with my best pal. Something I've always kept throughout my time was writing songs about God, writing songs about faith. And so that's what this project is, but once in a while these songs will sort of cross back over. So I write a lot of songs that I'm quoting in the air secular, and I write a lot of songs that are religious. And I think a lot of the time in my project that I had called Talip Pesh, I wrote songs about just what is life? What is God? And it doesn't necessarily have to tell you. And so this song is that. It lands in that little area where it's inspired by God. And even though it has this sort of definitive, it's just the pouring rain, it's still wonderment. It's still curious. It's not trying to, that is actually a consoling line. It's to console myself in the midst of tragedy, saying, well, good happens to bad people. Bad happens to good people. Good happens to good people. Bad happens to bad people. Life still goes on. In fact, it's inspired by Ecclesiastes, but it's a deeper understanding of life and saying, well, you know, it's like it's the equivalent of almost the equivalent, and I don't want it to be this simple, but you know, like crap happens, or carry on, you know, or that's just the way it is, you know, and I'm not trying to ignore the other side of the conversation. In fact, I want to get the conversation going. That's what the song is. It's trying to get people to think.
That's how it's always gone. You gotta carry on. It's just the pouring rain. That's how it's always gone. You gotta carry on. It's just the pouring rain.
In the Christian faith, there's this thing called prosperity theology. Or the health and wealth gospel, prosperity gospel. You know, it's the gospel of success. And it's the religious belief where, you know, a lot of Protestant Christians will say that God's will is for them to be successful. God's will is for them to have this great health. But what it negates and what's really dangerous is, well, what about the child with cancer? Well, what about the poor kid? What about the poor family that are doing everything they can to survive and that are good people? You know, or what about the tragic moments? And it doesn't negate God's goodness. I'm not negating God's goodness. I'm just saying there's a deeper understanding than just God gave me a Lamborghini. And so throughout the coronavirus time, which is such a huge inspiration for a lot of the new songs I've written, you're constantly seeing death on screen. You were constantly hearing of death. Add the fact that we were secluded. You know, there were a lot of things happening. And this song comes out of that, where it's a response to that and going, well, you know, this is life. This is bigger. Now, do we want pandemics? No. Was God giving a pandemic to the world? I don't think so. I'm not looking at it that way too. Bad stuff happens, like I said earlier. And this is looking at, like I said, Ecclesiastes and other Bible verses, other things. So this song's not it's not trying to be a worship I'm quoting in the air song. It's actually just a song about life. The righteous fall more than twice a day, the wicked too. It rains and pours on everyone. That's the first lyric. It's always been that way. That's just an obvious truth. You can't blame the wind or rain that falls on us again. It doesn't care about us at all. It's not saying God doesn't care about us. It's saying these bad things, they happen. And so there's, we have to carry on. We continue. We go. And so it's a forward song. It's a looking forward song. And the chorus is, that's how it's always gone. You got to carry on. It's just the pouring rain. So verse 2, the good and the innocent will all fall one day. Bad folks too. That's just an obvious truth. It's always been that way. You can't blame the wind or rain that falls on us again. It doesn't care about us at all. That's how it's always gone. You got to carry on. Same thing in the chorus again. It's just the pouring rain. And this next part's my favorite. I always enjoy trying to love the person that's not loved, or be around the person that no one wants to be around. I was the kid that was bullied. I was the kid that was pushed away. I was I know the feeling of walking into a room and no one saying hello, and continuously not saying hello, or feeling like you're not present, or like no one sees you. I can absolutely go into that feeling, and it's not good. I understand that. Now you can hear my kids maybe throughout the back making noise. I'm constantly not alone, and I enjoy that too. So and maybe some of it too is like me growing up and figuring out like the difference of like peaceable solitude versus deep sorrow. And so this is my favorite part of the song, where and anytime I can write "You're not alone" in a song, it shows up. There are themes. This strangely gives me hope. It's kind of comforting, knowing that I'm not alone in my suffering, knowing that it's always how it's always ever been. And it breaks into, that's how it's always been, how it's always been, how it's always been. That's my Bruce Hornsby. That's just the way it is. And then it goes into the moment where it says the sun too will shine on us, basically here. Like we think about how it's also going to shine on us. The sun will come, everything in its proper time. That's another thing in Ecclesiastes. That's the other side. That's the thing that bad and good happen. So the sun will shine. And, in the coronavirus time, we were secluded and scared. So this song is trying to be the opposite of fear and seclusion. So it's saying life is big. Let's carry on together. We can do this. And as we're coming out of the real deep coronavirus time, where we were all on proper lockdown, I want to look back on this time and I want to remember it, trying to find good, of course, but also understand that bad happened. There was a lot of bad in that. There was a lot of terrible things happening to good people. I want to look back and I want to remember how we made it through. And I want to think of those that passed on. I want to think of those that didn't make it through. And I think there's an added element of that too. And how do we enjoy ourselves and our lives? And how do we come to a greater understanding of life? That's what I want to dwell on. These songs sort of push us into that realm. I hope you're able to be inspired by this song, and I hope that it starts the conversation and it gets things going in a positive way for you. And I just hope that you have a peaceful week, and that you're blessed, and that you can see the richness of life and understand the goodness of it all. Until next time, cheers and blessings, my friends.
It's just the pouring rain. That's how it's always been. How it's always been. How it's always been.